Thank you very much indeed. It was great to be here. I was on, Pat Kenny used to do the daily radio program in the morning. I was on him to speak about a workshop I was giving on the 7 secrets of a successful memory. And when I got on live in front of the audience, I could only remember 6 of them. I want to say to you that all of our memories, whether we are healthy or have some kind of dementia or other problem, all of our memories are partial, fragmented, and subject to errors. So I just want to say to you all, those of you who are suffering from dementia, we're all in the same boat to different degrees. And there's the thing about memory is it's not a single thing. So how many of you can shout out the name of the capital of Paris? The capital of Paris. There you go. Okay. How about the capital of Germany? How about the name of a large elephant with I'm definitely showing the signs. I'll be joining the people with dementia. A large animal with big ears and a trunk. These are all examples of semantic memory. That is knowledge that's stored in your brain that you don't know when you learned. You can't remember the time you learned it. And semantic memory is less vulnerable to diseases of the brain than the second type of memory, which is episodic memory. So, how many of you can remember your first day in national school? Yeah. How many of you can remember your first day in second level in the secondary school? Remember that? Yeah. So that's, or more recently, how many of you can remember the last time you went to a cinema? Yeah. So these are all episodes, episodic memories, where there is some event, some set of words and images that are tied to a particular place and time. They're tagged, if you like. An episodic memory is very vulnerable to certain types of dementia, particularly Alzheimer's disease. And the parts of the brain that are responsible for episodic memory, particularly the hippocampus and surrounding bits of the brain, again from the brain cortex, they are some of the earliest bits of the brain to become not function well. And there's something called a gradient, a temporal gradient in episodic memory as well, that when these bits of our brain are healthy and unimpaired, they are very good at laying down memories that you can later retrieve or pull out. And so that's why all of us, and we're all in the same boat here, can remember things from our early life much more readily and vividly often than from later in our life, more recent events. So I was recently away with some friends and we had a kind of desert island discs where we had to think of 2 songs from our past and 2 stories about ourselves that went with these songs. It was great fun. But all of us, we were a bunch of people about my age, and all of us all the songs were in the 70s. Okay, when our hippocampi and our interrhinal cortices were in really good shape. And so the memories, the images, the music, the events, the emotions are all kind of stuck together in a kind of sticky ball. And the more things that are stuck to that ball, the more easy it is to remember it. So that's an example of the temporal gradient, whereas, you know, if you had to say, well, look, what did you have for dinner last Thursday? I can't remember, you know. Some people could, and the older you get, the harder it is to remember more recent things. So that's because, it's not because the memories are not there in your brain, it's because it's difficult to retrieve them. They haven't been stored in such a way that it's easy to retrieve. There are so many memories. Some people argue that all our memories are in our brains. And the problem, as we apparently lose our memory, is actually getting them out, okay? So the third type of memory is procedural memory. How many of you know how to ride a bike? So you don't forget how to ride a bike. And this type of memory is really relatively secure from most, not all, most types of diseases of the brain. Now, okay, our motor skills, our balance can go down as we get older, but actually the basic ability to recall some motor skills that we learn is pretty good. And this is quite important because you know, you were mentioning gardening, okay, mentioning gardening. The more you can do things, take actions, the more you are likely to remember these actions, because the procedural memories and the things that might stick to them, the memories that might stick to them, the emotions, the thought, are more likely to be retrieved if you're doing something that's relatively immune to the disease process. And that's why, you know, if you're constantly losing your keys, for instance, if you develop a routine of consciously doing a particular action of taking your keys and putting them in a particular spot on a particular place in the house, there's an action there associated with the thing you want to remember, you're much more likely to be able to recall that action and to remember not lose your keys, for example. And that's why it's so important that, and as Marguerite was saying, that, you know, come to them, don't hide away, be involved in activities. Activities are about actions. And the more you engage in actions, the more you will accumulate and store memories that you can retrieve and therefore participate. So, and just to say one other thing about memory, it's hugely influenced by confidence. There's so much in everyone. People who don't think they have Alzheimer's disease, like me, probably are a bit, you know, slightly because of age, slightly less good than I was at memory. But the more you make mistakes and the more you're forced into areas where you have to rely on your most vulnerable memory systems, the more there will become anxiety associated with that. Or maybe I might say the wrong thing, I might do the wrong thing, so I'll hold back, I'll avoid. And that, of course, sabotages your memory, both because it increases anxiety, which interferes with memory, but also makes you less likely to exercise the memory muscle, if you like. So it's very, very important to understand that no matter what your stage in any illness is, you have a lot of memory capacity. And it's not about focusing on what you've lost, but in identifying which capacities are still available to you. And so, particularly actions, and there's several others actually. So just, I'm going to show you a couple of videos. I'm only going to end up showing you one, but just, we know from Parkinson's disease, you will get people who are in difficulty initiating a movement, who, when you play music or even provide a beat or a rhythm, will be able to do so. So that it wasn't that they couldn't do the actions, it was under certain circumstances they couldn't do the actions. Okay. All right. Oh, the video, thank you. I'll just quickly, I'll do a little bit of that. Sorry, I thought I didn't have time to do it, so thank you. I'll just do a brief one of this. Okay, I'll do a couple more, so thank you for that. Is it working? It was working this morning, I found it.
Round of applause for Hugh. Or
No, don't worry. It's not critical, I mean. Right, just click on that, do it. Okay. I think it's, oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay, you'll see what we don't have is the sound apparently. Yeah.
I don't think what you're seeing is the same.
Okay, I'm seeing it and you're not seeing it. Never mind. Look, it's people with Parkinson's who are able to do complex rhythms when it's elicited by external events. And that's a particular facet of to do with motor control and the dopamine system in Parkinson's disease, which means you can elicit from people capacities that otherwise they think they have lost, like moving. So they can't reach to pick up a ball, but if you throw the ball to them, they can catch it because it's externally elicited. And there are memories in all of us that can be elicited in clever ways like that other than by scratching our head and trying to remember them. And actions is one of them, procedural memory. Another, of course, is music. Now, I was going to show you another couple of videos, but we won't. Another factor in memory is hunger, and I don't want to too many interference of memories with probably, so we'll forget the videos. So music has amazing capacities for eliciting memories because it accesses brain systems that are still not affected by the disease. And remember the sticky ball of memory, the place, the time, the smell, the images, the people, the emotions, they all kind of stick together. And music is wonderful at binding them together. It's a really powerful way of giving you some purchase on this sticky ball that means that you can end up singing the song that you didn't realize you can still remember. Another thing is emotions. If you can get someone, if one of you can say, we heard about Margarita, who joined, or no, it was about a choir, joining a choir. The emotions of singing together are hugely, it's a primitive, fundamental human state of being in rhythmic connection with fellow human beings through a musical beat. And that has, these emotions are another huge aspect of creating this sticky ball of memory that you're more likely to be able to retrieve. And the final thing, and I'm going to finish there, the final thing is attention. An awful lot of memory problems are actually problems of paying attention. That, you know, for instance, people think, oh, I'm always losing my keys, or I'm always, how many of you have been into a room in the house to do something, and then you find you can't remember why you went into it. Yeah. That's not memory. That is attention. That is because your mind was somewhere else when you formed the intention to go and get your wallet in the bedroom, okay? And absent-mindedness is exactly that. It's the absence of your focused mental attention on what you're doing. And that's why things like meditation and yoga and breathing are so important for regulating your brain in a way so that you're actually paying attention to the thing that you want to remember. I'll just finish off with just one exercise and I'll explain what you're doing in your brain. If you just take a slow breath in to the count of 4 and down to the count of 6. Do that a few times. Just breathe into 4 and out to the count of 6. Do one more time. Breathe into 4. And out to 6. Does anyone feel a tiny bit different after doing that compared to before? Rub your hand if you do. Yeah. That's because you've changed the chemistry of your brain. You've changed the levels of one of the critical memory chemical messengers called noradrenaline. Why? Because there's a little part of your brain that's the only part in your brain that supplies noradrenaline called the locus ceruleus. And the wonderful thing of this locus ceruleus is it's sensitive to how much carbon dioxide, how much oxygen and carbon dioxide is in your brain at any one time. Sorry, in your blood. And so as you breathe in and out, so the level of firing of the brain cells in the locus ceruleus goes up and down. And when you slow your breathing in this way, particularly breathing out for longer than you breathe in, you slow down the firing of the locus ceruleus, which has a calming effect on the brain, and puts your brain in that chemical state where it feels different, feels calmer, and it refocuses your attention. It's like pressing a reset button in your brain, like you have in your computer. And that's a really important way of, if you're getting distressed by not remembering things, or distressed by feeling out of touch with a conversation or events that's going on, if you just learn the habit, taking 15, 20 seconds time out to just breathe like that. It's like taking the most side effect-free and highly specific pharmaceutical any doctor prescribes you. Okay, so changing your brain, you're tuning your brain, and you're putting it in a state where it's more likely that you will be present-minded rather than absent-minded, and will therefore remember. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed.